All right, welcome everyone. My name is Jabril Ben-Sidrin. I'm hosting this webinar on behalf of CISA Systems. Today's topic is distressed companies and crisis management from a lean and continuous improvement perspective. Our guest speaker will be Jim Steyer, who we had already on our webinar before. The reason why this matters, and when he mentioned this topic, I found it really very appealing, is especially these days, a lot of companies find themselves behind schedule, losing money, or generally in some level of distress, or at least crisis management mode. Crisis management is a very specific type of managerial approach, very focused, very high energy, that can definitely turn the things around if it's done properly. So Jim has experience with this, and it can definitely help reduce the costs and damages incurred by the company if you know what you're doing and you have done it before. So very pleased to have him again on our webinar series to share his experience with this. Jim brings 20 years of continuous improvement experience in multiple industries and processes. He has held positions at General Electric, Parker-Hannifin, Nissan, so very diverse and very solid. He's the principal of 46&2 Consulting, acting as lead consultant for continuous improvement and cost reduction. He has held process improvement principal, program manager, lead consultant, and engineer positions. He is also a Lean Six Sigma Master Black Belt and has $500 million in documented cost savings or avoidance under his belt. So thank you so much, Jim, for sharing your expertise with us. The agenda we will discuss starts with what happens that leads to companies being distressed or needing some crisis management, how to set up a war room, the common issues and the ways to solve them, both for backlog companies and cost-ineffective companies. Just a few words before I pass it on to you, Jim, a reminder about who we are. CISA Systems, as many of you know, is a leader in lean manufacturing. We provide 2,500 products, equipment, accessories to more than 14,000 companies of all sizes, including a number of world-class references that you recognize down here. And they use our training games for lean manufacturing, ergonomic office furniture, as well as ergonomic workstations, different types of workstations, ranging from the workbenches to the maintenance stations, computer protection, as well as in the logistics area, floor racks, trolleys, including electrical trolleys, Kanban systems, safety signage, floor markings, in the Industry 4.0, wireless and-on lights, as well as digital KPI management software and digital screens. And finally, also the more traditional but also essential magnetic whiteboards and magnetic accessories. So without further ado, I will pass it on to you, Jim. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Gabriel, for the introduction. And welcome everybody to distressed companies and crisis management. What we will cover in this webinar is what is a distressed company, what is crisis management, the need for a war room, and some common causes and remedies. Again, this webinar is intended to be a guide, but take in consideration that no guide should be a one-size-fits-all. Crisis management is unique in every case and needs to be data-driven, by an on-site team. What is a distressed company? Distressed company is any company facing hardship. What we'll focus on in this webinar are the two types of distressed companies. The first type of distressed company we'll focus on is a company facing backlog and capacity problems. The second type of distressed company that we'll focus on is a company that's producing parts at a higher price than what they're selling them for. This often hits tier 1, tier 2, and tier 3 suppliers because they're held into a pricing agreement. Sometimes they're not sure what their price is when they make that pricing agreement. Some possible reasons that companies become distressed are supply chain issues, equipment failures, quality issues, overselling their capacity, and not understand the actual cost of their products. What is crisis management? Crisis management is a very focused, very methodical, and high energy approach to solve an issue causing the company to be distressed. A war room is required for crisis management to help with communication and prioritization. As with any formal problem solving, the key to solving a problem is to know what the real problem is. Crisis management only works if the true issue is being reviewed and addressed. If not, all it is a Band-Aid. There needs to be one central point of control. I call this a point of control because this person needs to not just be a point of contact, but also guide the whole effort with decision making as well as communication to the rest of the company. This point of control needs to have meetings with each department impacted at least once a day, if not throughout the day. The meetings need to be status updates as well as given direction. A lot of times I'm asked, do you really need a war room? The answer is yes. It gives priority to the problem at hand and separates normal daily operations from crisis management. This separation allows the point of control person to focus in on the problem. The war room allows for a central point of communication as well. Whiteboards, digital board, projectors are all needed for this war room. You want to have your information displayed continuously. You want to have your milestones readily available to look at, as well as where you currently stand compared to the future goal. Also, the war room can be used for your huddles and the daily meeting for crisis management. The type of information that you'll display will depend on what your crisis is that's causing the issue. Overall goal and the gap to the reach the goal, which can be considered a path to overcome the problem, all need to be visible. The use of whiteboards to display your KPIs, your Gantt charts, when your upcoming production changeovers are, what is your target time compared to what is your current time. All of that needs to be displayed. You don't want one person to have all this in their head and having everybody come to them. That just takes more time than bogging everybody down. What are some common causes and remedies for a company that's distressed because they're backlogged? If a company finds itself in distress due to increasing number of backlogged orders, these could be a possible reason and remedy for it. The first possible cause is your cycle time is greater than their takt time. Remedy for that could be reducing cycle time. That might mean new equipment, might mean more operators, more workstations, or going through and doing Kaizen events to find out ways to reduce the cycle time. There could be issues with your supply chain. If your supply chain is being hit by production issues, you'll feel that ripple. If your supply chain has transportation issues where there's long lead times due to the way it's being shipped to you, you might be able to find alternatives to be able to get that product either air freight or in a sequence where you're getting it more frequent. You might also have opportunity to dual source that part. If you dual source it, then you have at least two suppliers that can get you that component. And quality issues might be hindering the throughput. If the quality issue is what's causing stress on your production, root cause analysis and formal problem solving through the quality department can help identify and address the issue. Causes and remedies for companies that are spending more to make the part than they are selling it for. If a company finds itself in distress due to having a product cost more than they are selling it for, these are possible reasons behind it. Part production cost is unknown to several companies. They've been producing something for a very long time, or it's a brand new product and they haven't done the costing standard. If you don't know your costing standard, you don't know material cost or the production cost to make it. So you might be selling a widget for $5 thinking that you're making money on it, but reality is your overall cost is $6. And until you know that, you're selling the part for a loss. To identify what your actual cost of production is, create a labor standard. Identify how many operators are touching that part and for how long. Then identify what the labor rate is for those operators. Identify the machine cost. If it's going through a press, how much that press cost to produce that part. And do not forget to include the raw material pricing. For companies that know their production cost, but they're still selling it for a price that is less than what they're building it for, two very unique and simple ways to reduce their price could be through VAVE, which is value analysis, value engineering, or through Kaizen events. You can do a process Kaizen to reduce the labor cost, logistical Kaizens to reduce the shipping cost of the part, and then VAVE might be able to reduce the material being used, components that are being put into it that are not being used by end customer, or looking at the technical spec of what the customer is asking for compared to what you're giving them. Oftentimes, VAVE looks at, sometimes we build a part that is over-spec'd and putting in a lot more money to meet those tolerances than what the customer actually wants. A question and answer. These again are some very common questions that I see often in my career. First question is, at what point is crisis management required? If you're asking that question, the answer is now. As soon as the problem is known, action needs to be taken. If it's identified soon enough, you reduce the damages caused. If a company is constantly fighting fires, they're going to be put back into the same issues day in and day out. If they can come to the root cause of what's causing those fires, then it eases up where the resources are being spent, as well as bringing stability to the company. Having a dedicated person and war room for the continuous firefighting turns into a continuous firefighting into a one-time event. Another question that I'm commonly asked is, how many people should be involved in the war room? Another question that I'm commonly asked is, how many people should be involved in the war room? This answer varies based on the magnitude of the problem as well as the reason of the problem. If you're talking about a simple problem of not having enough screws where you can go to multiple suppliers that are all qualified, that might be a very quick 1 or 2 day project. If you're talking about having an assembly line go up in flames, that could take a very long time and have multiple departments involved on it. And in the last case of having an assembly line go up in flames, you're going to have maintenance involved, you have to have quality involved, production, you have to have shipping and receiving for new equipment coming in, and have someone track where the equipment is, what the purchase order looks like, and have a Gantt chart of what each milestone is, where we stand on it, and when we're expecting for that milestone to be completed. At a bare minimum, the war room needs to be a temporary office to the point of control person and supporting staff. A representative from different departments is not required to be stationed in the war room at all times, but the person in control of the war room needs to have a representative from those departments readily available for meetings, questions, and support. Another unique question that I get is, how many whiteboards are needed? The information presented on the whiteboard should be a communication tool. So this will vary based on how complex the problem is, how many lines you have in your assembly, how many different departments are being involved. Each department involved in a turnaround should have a whiteboard for communication. There has to be a board that has your Gantt chart, your key milestones and metrics, as well as where we currently stand. There should be another board that has the concerns for the day and what needs to be done that day. Keeping everything visual helps out and lets everybody know where we stand.
All right. Thank you very much, Jim, for this very informative presentation and overview. What I was going to say in depth, but I know that there is even much more to it than this. But really, already very insightful. Definitely encouraging anyone who's facing troubled times to reach out and chat with you to discuss more. Those of you interested in some of our equipment can find on our website a number of brochures on these different topics that you see on the screen. I hope you'll be in touch with us and connect with us. On the next screen, you'll see our contact information, both for Jim on LinkedIn and by email, and myself. I also would like to invite you all to join a growing peer group on LinkedIn with now more than 1,500 members, no spam, mostly announcements for webinars, so you can't miss the next ones, as well as other useful articles and content. So thanks again, Jim, very much, and everyone for joining. Oh, one last point. Those of you who would like to receive a professional development hour certificate and are hearing this recording, please reach out and I'll send you an assessment so that you can receive your certificate. Thank you all, and we'll see you in a future webinar.